I think that the question of how you change $1 billion cardiovascular injury, how do you get rid of it? I think there are several thoughts along this line. I should share with you an editorial that I'm working on now, and I haven't quite decided where I'll try to submit this. But it has to do with one of the organizations which I am a member of, the American College of Cardiology, and the American Heart Association. Because historically, what was so fascinating about smallpox, we got rid of it. Why? We treated the causation of it. We got rid of poliomyelitis. Why? We treated the causation. At the turn of the century, from 1899 to 1900, in that era, we had what? We had this great understanding of bacteria, and as sewage disposal and clean water became paramount, there was a huge increase in survival and get rid of hundreds of thousands of diseases, because we were treating the causation. Now, how long? It's really been almost since the turn of the century, early 1900s, that suddenly, I guess it was William Osler in 1899, giving an address. He talked about angina, but he had never seen a case. But by 1910, William Osler was talking about angina, and he was aware of really 40 or 50 or more cases. So now we had this illness that was building up in this country to become number one. Now along comes the American Heart Association, the American College of Cardiology, and you know, they've been around about 70, 80 years or more. And we have tens of thousands of papers from these organizations and even beyond that. Plus, they have these annual meetings. We get a bulletin every month, and we get journals every week. And yet, still, cardiovascular disease is number one. So I looked at this a little bit more carefully, and who do you suppose are the sponsors of the American Heart Association? You ever hear about the Montana Beef Council? Kentucky Beef Council? Iowa Beef Council? Kraft? Domino's Pizza? There's something that struck me as being a little peculiar about all this. And then you look at the American College of Cardiology, and it's turned a little differently, but there it's mostly all the different 20 other pharmaceutical houses. Then where the rubber really hit the road was I looked at the dietary guidelines. Yep, it was okay. They had vegetables, they had fruit, and yeah, they had grain. Then they also had meat, and then they also had dairy, and then they had oils, and then they had sugary drinks. What is this? This was an absolute denial of the science of disease causation in these very same organizations that are supposed to be at the forefront of stopping heart disease. And you look at, in a very simplistic way, of some of the civilizations that don't seem to have heart disease. What about the Papua Highlanders? The Papua Highlanders are fascinating. They live in this high, absolutely serene arena in these mountains, and yet what is their leading cause of death? Lung disease. Why? Well, they all seem to smoke this very harsh tobacco, very harsh tobacco, and when they smoke it in a large communal hutch, so everybody gets the benefit of everybody else's smoke. But when they autopsy these people over 60, their arteries are clean, even with all that smoking. What's going on? They thrive on 19 different varieties of sweet potato. Fascinating. And the other group you look at, of course, are the Tarahumara Indians in northern Mexico. What do they thrive on? The three sisters: beans, corn, and squash. Heart disease, virtually non-existent, fantastic athletes. Then we always heard about the Maasai. The Maasai in Africa are thriving. They're the exception. They're thriving on dairy and blood and meat, milk. And so George Mann, in the American Journal of Epidemiology in 1972, decided he would go over and settle this question and see how these grass-fattened beef were so safe for everybody. They did 50 autopsies. The Maasai are loaded with atherosclerosis. Yeah. So, I guess in summary, what I want to say is I think that there are some forces here at work that really perhaps try to keep us a little bit off the trail. And that's why I'm so proud and delighted to places like this Melville, Long Island, where what Steve Shore has done in bringing this cast of characters together to to try to share with you some science. Thank you.